Make me a promise right now. You are not going to call yourself an aspiring filmmaker anymore. Hey guys, my name is Faisal Hashmi and I'm an independent filmmaker based in Dubai. And I'm here to talk about a problem that I've seen rising recently. There are just too many people out there calling themselves aspiring filmmakers who have yet to make a short film. You know those people. I mean, I go to these parties and networking events, but I meet this one guy always who's talking about, oh, he's an aspiring filmmaker and he has this idea for a short film that he really wants to shoot. And I'm like, that's great, that's awesome. And then 6 months later, you see him at another event and he's talking about the same idea that he still hasn't made it. And then a year later, you meet him again and he's talking about the same idea. And then 2 years later. And that's when you realize that these people are sort of eternal aspiring filmmakers. They just find reasons to not make that film that they really, really want to make. Look, I'm here to tell you that in this decade that we're living in, the word aspiring filmmaker is completely obsolete. There is no reason for you to not make your first film anymore. So let's dive in. There are 3 main reasons why people call themselves aspiring filmmaker and they still have not made their film yet. Number 1, it's lack of confidence. You think that you don't have the skills, you just aren't ready yet, and you think that if you're going to make a film, it's going to be bad, it's going to be boring, it's going to be bland, you're going to show it to people, people are going to hate it, they're going to laugh at you, they're going to be disappointed in you, and you're just going to be shamed everywhere. Look, I understand the sentiment, all right? We all want to make great short films, but here's the thing, your first short film is most likely going to suck. That's what first short films are for. They're supposed to be rough around the edges, or they're supposed to be bad. Most first short films around the world are. That's the whole point. They are learning blocks. If you're a student, they're your student short films. If you're not a student, well, you're learning from those short films, so they're as good as being student short films. You are learning the craft, you're making the mistakes. When I made my first short film, I'm looking back at that and I've made so many mistakes in them. I had tripods at the back of my shots and I didn't even realize. But all those mistakes that I did, I learned from every single one of them. Every film, I learned what went right, what went wrong. Learned that, applied that to the next film, made new mistakes, and so on until I became a better filmmaker. And I understand, there are a lot of people who are very, very ambitious. They want to make a great short film. They know what they want. They want to be the next Nolan or they want to be the next Tarantino. They know where they want to be in their career, but they know that they don't have the skill right now to be there in the career. And that's a very frustrating feeling when you want to be great, but right now you can't be. And so that can really hold you back. You can be really self-critical. It's a great thing that you know the flaws of your film, that you know how good you want to be. And yet when you make a film, you understand the flaws, you probably hate certain things of it, but that's fine. At least you know that. You at least are aware and self-aware enough to understand that. A lot of people don't actually know that. A lot of people make their first short film, which is probably not very good, but they just think they've made their magnum opus, their best film ever. It's better than being those people, because those people are just disillusioned, they're going to be much more frustrated, and they're just going to be very bitter, thinking that people don't understand their art. So get over your confidence issues. Make your first short film. If you don't like it, you don't have to show it to the world. You don't have to upload it on YouTube or Vimeo and have people look at it. Make it for yourself and your crew. You need to stop being precious about your first short film. It's not supposed to be your best work. It's not. It's just not. Any filmmaker out there, just ask them what their first short film was. They'll probably cringe at the thought, right? Unless you're like a Martin Scorsese or something, you probably are going to make a bad short film, and that's okay. Don't be precious. Make something. The number 2 reason why most people have not made their first short film is a lack of drive, right? You're waiting for that inspiration to strike. You're waiting for that perfect idea to come along, or you're waiting for that perfect actor to say yes, or you're waiting for that perfect location to be able to shoot your movie, or you're waiting for just the right thing and the right kind of stars to align to get the perfect film. Here's the thing. There are 1,000 reasons to not make something. Whether it's a film or whether it's any piece of art, there are 1,000 reasons to not do something. But a great filmmaker or a great artist is one that looks at those reasons and makes something despite those limitations, despite those problems. If you aren't driven or committed or passionate enough to make your first short film, no one else will. No one is going to do that part for you. That is the one part that you are supposed to do. If you don't care enough, no one else will. Even on a set, like the director is supposed to be the most passionate, most driven, most committed person on set. Not the DP, not the actors, not the makeup artist, not the sound guy. They are all feeding the energy that you're bringing to the set. So be the most committed person. Have that go, let's do it attitude. Look, if you have a cool idea for a film that really requires something that you don't have access to at all, that's fine. Put that script aside, make something else. Waiting is the worst thing you can do as a filmmaker. That's one thing I'm really proud of. I've made 10 short films over 10 years on average, not counting some of the smaller stuff that I've done that I don't technically count as short films. And the only reason I've done that is because of consistency. I have never waited for the right thing to happen. I wrote a film a couple of years ago which it's a horror short film that required a grand piano, right? Now I don't have a grand piano. I actually put a Facebook post out saying, does anybody know anybody who has a grand piano in a villa that I can shoot this, because it's a really cool horror short film, maybe 5 minutes long, but it has a very cool angle to it. Couldn't find anyone. Did I just stop and be like, well, I guess I'm not making that movie and I'm not making any movie until I get that thing sorted? No. I literally took that script, stashed it aside, and said, all right, cool. Whenever in the world I will find a grand piano, I'm gonna make that movie. Onwards, let's make something else. And I made Wicked, a short film that was very successful on YouTube. I didn't wait. Waiting is the problem. You have to be driven enough to just keep creating. Don't wait. And the third and final reason why people still haven't made their first short film and call themselves aspiring filmmaker is because of a lack of resources, or what I call a perceived lack of resources. Look, I'm jealous of you right now, all right? You are super, super lucky. You are born in the best generation possible to be a filmmaker. When I started off in 2009, right, I was lucky too. I had YouTube going on. The first Canon 5D Mark II came out, so DSLRs were becoming a thing, but it still wasn't as cheap or accessible as it is today. Like nowadays, this phone, this iPhone, right? This iPhone can shoot better resolution video than my camera could 10 years ago, than most film cameras could even a little bit before that. You are so lucky that you have in your palm of your hands a tool to make the film that you want. So you have the resources. It's just you feel like you need a red camera to shoot your movie, or you need a cinema camera to shoot your movie. Sure, will those things make your movie look better? Yeah, I'm sure it will. But that's not a reason to not make a film yet, right? You don't have the right locations. What do you have? You live in a house. You have a house. You have friends who maybe have houses. You have a parking lot in your building maybe. You have an office that you work in. Maybe you're working part-time. That's four locations that I've already thought of. Take those 4 locations. What's the best film that you can write and direct in those 4 locations using your friends, right? You've got a funny friend, write a comedy. Compromise is a part of filmmaking. I've always compromised on every single short film. I think there was a quote that said the best version of a film exists in your head, and everything after that is compromise. From the point that you come on set, from the point that you're editing, all of those things. And that's okay, that's a part of filmmaking. There are so many great films that you've seen, you have no idea how many things they compromised on. I watch a lot of behind the scenes documentaries, and they all talk about the things they weren't able to get on set, and the things they had to compromise on, or an actor had to be replaced. And these things are not their first choices, but they made the film. Use the things that you have, and sometimes they will fuel you. A lot of times that I've made movies, I made a movie in a radio station because I just sat down and be like, oh, I have access to a radio station because it's in a university that my brother used to study in. So I was like, let me just use that. What's a cool horror film that I can use and that I can write in that radio station? And I came up with a really cool idea for Slight. It's on my channel, you can go check it out. That's one of my most successful short films. Why? Because I knew I had access to a location, and let that fuel my imagination and come up with something that I never would have come up if I had all the access in the world. Now, there is another branch of filmmakers that I haven't talked about. Those filmmakers are the ones who have actually made 1 short film, maybe 2 short films, but they still call themselves aspiring filmmakers. If you've made a short film, you are a filmmaker. And if you don't want to believe my words for it, how about James Cameron? Pick up a camera, shoot something, no matter how small, no matter how cheesy, no matter whether your friends or your sister star in it. Put your name on it as a director, now you're a director. You see that? That's how you become the next James Cameron, by having that go-getter attitude. Now look, I don't want to go very Gary Vee on you, but the main reason why you want to call yourself a filmmaker instead of an aspiring filmmaker if you've made even 1 short film is because it's a mindset thing, right? Once you start calling yourself a filmmaker instead of just being stuck in that trap of the aspiring filmmaker, you will actually be more ambitious. You will be more confident. All of those issues I talked about earlier will sort of disappear because you now feel like you are a filmmaker. You're not trying to become something, you are something. That little switch in your head switches, and trust me, it makes a big difference in how you perceive your career, and how you perceive your art, and how you sort of take the next steps forward. So stop being the aspiring filmmaker. Let's kill that word in your dictionary today, right? Let's go out and make the film with your friends over a weekend. Just go shoot something and call yourself a filmmaker. So I hope that was helpful. I just wanted to inspire people to actually go ahead and do that, because I see a lot of people who just talk about wanting to make short films, and just for many reasons, they just haven't made that yet. And hopefully one of the reasons I've covered. And if I've missed something, and if there's any other advice you have as a filmmaker who has sort of gotten away from that trap, definitely let me know in the comments, and I'm sure many people will be inspired to share their stories as well. So thank you for watching this video, and please subscribe below. I'm hoping to make even more filmmaking driven videos like this, and you can watch all of my short films, including my upcoming short film Amber, on this page. So stay tuned. Until then, don't just move the camera, move the audience. Cheers.